Before we move on and talk about the San Bernardino shooting and all the Masonic coding on that, I want you to know that throughout history, many places on this earth Freemasonry has been banished from. In the facts I reveal on the San Bernardino shooting, I'm going to show the connections even to the recent Paris, France shooting hoax, which is also blamed on ISIS. Remember, Freemasonry is international. Freemasons have been banned from all corners of the globe. In France's history, on Friday the 13th, 1307, King Philip IV banned the Knights Templar from France, burning them at the stake. The Knights Templar were the Freemasons of the time. In the history of this nation, truth seeker, the United States of America, when the country was first founded, the leader of the anti-Masonry party was named William Morgan, and the anti-Masonry party fell apart after his disappearance on September 11th, 1826. Notice the date, September 11th. That is New Year's Day on the Coptic calendar. Once upon a time, before September 11th, there was a think tank known as the Project for a New American Century that said we needed a new Pearl Harbor for a new world order in the new century. And they got their new Pearl Harbor on New Year's Day on the Coptic calendar. The Freemasons pride themselves on being knowledgeable of the calendars of the world, the religions of the world. All of these things point back to the Freemasons. It should be noted that both Christianity and Islam on a public level are largely opposed to Freemasonry, yet at the same time there are Islamic and Christian elements that are very Masonic. If you talk to many Muslims, though, about Freemasonry, they will tell you that it is a pro-Jewish front, and they see the Freemasons as being pro-Judaism, anti-Islam. In a way, there's truth to that, but at the same time, the Freemasons are essentially against everyone but themselves, and they use the natural divisions of our world, race and religion, as tools for their conquering, which is why religion has been used by the Freemasons in making war all throughout history. So today's headline from CNN this morning when I woke up was ISIS connection to massacre. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. The gematria on this headline, Truth Seeker, is quite revealing. ISIS connection to massacre sums to 102. Al-Qaeda in Jewish gematria equals 102. And why that's so significant is because the September 11th attacks blamed on Al-Qaeda lasted 102 minutes. 102 minutes can also be written as an hour and 42. An hour and 42 creates the number sequence of the gematria of terrorist. Again, gematria, the practice of coding numbers and words, a Masonic practice, largely a Jewish practice. If you're not aware, ISIS is the acronym used for Israel's Mossad, which is the equivalent of the US CIA. ISIS stands for Israeli Security Intelligence Service. Remember, in the days after September 11th, the leader of Israel, Ehud Barak, came to the United States and said we needed to declare a war on terrorism. The Zionists, the false Jews, the synagogue of Satan, they are the real leadership of most governments in the Western world. The picture that went with that headline was of a crib. It explained how these ISIS terrorists are also parents of a 6-month-old and working within government buildings of the U.S. In this case, it was the employee of the Public Health Department of San Bernardino. A very far-fetched story. It can't be said enough. In the reporting, again, they say that online, the female shooter posted under an alternate ID that she had connections to ISIS, was doing pledges for ISIS. Her name is Tashfeen, having gematria of 33. And within this name, Tashfeen, a very suspicious name, I see a lot of interesting numbers coded within. With regards to 555, Truth Seeker, the Pentagon is 5-sided, 5 floors above ground with a 5-acre court in the middle. It sits across from the Washington Monument that is 555 feet tall. The Iraq War began exactly 555 days after September 11th. There's a lot more here to it, Truth Seeker. If you want to read the greater connections about these numbers to the New World Order, which we live under, come visit my blog. Lots of information to share, but I got to keep moving ahead because there's still a lot of information to cover. Also, Truth Seeker, I want people to understand what brainwashing really is. CNN 2 weeks ago had on this German man who supposedly went undercover and investigated ISIS for a number of months. He explained on CNN that it was the worst case of brainwashing he had ever observed in his life, these people who are members of ISIS. This is the propaganda. Propaganda is what does the real brainwashing. Anyone who is afraid of ISIS is a victim of brainwashing. Anyone who is afraid of Al-Qaeda is a victim of brainwashing. Anyone who is convinced that Islamic people are dangerous is a victim of brainwashing. There are such a thing as extremists, but they are very rare. They are not near you. They are not threatening you. Your government just wants you to think that. That's why they use the media to program us, to brainwash us. And with regards to ISIS and these Masonic numbers, check this out, Truth Seeker. On the date of the San Bernardino shooting, Britain's parliament voted 397 to 223 to bomb ISIS with the Royal Air Force, the equivalent of the U.S. Air Force. That number 223 stands out right away, the number for Masonic. This vote took place in London. London in Simple English Gematria sums to 74, just like Masonic in Simple English Gematria. Heavy Masonic coding here. Again, the Freemasons, in a way, they are proxy Jews. The false Jews, as referenced in the Bible, are the synagogue of Satan, sharing this Gematria of 223. This militarism, this needless war, it was warned about by President Eisenhower, also a Mason. He coined it the military-industrial complex. I think his speech was more of an in-your-face coded message. Look at the gematria of military-industrial complex, 322. On March 22nd, as we would write it in the United States, 3/22, 2003, that should say 3, not 4, the United States began Operation Shock and Awe, the bombing campaign by the U.S. Air Force against Baghdad. The date March 22nd can be written 3/22 or 22/3, like the votes in the British Air Force vote by the Parliament for bombing Syria. Again, Skull and Bones, this Masonic order. George W. Bush was the president when this happened, a former member of Skull and Bones. The yes votes were 397. Look what Freemasons is in Jewish Gematria. 397. 397 yes votes, 223 yes votes. It would be interesting to go through their parliament's history and see how many times they voted this way. I'm sure it's a good number. They love to do their Masonic tributes. If you've never seen this in 2004, Truth Seeker, let's just take a peek at this real quick. Then we'll get to the rest of the San Bernardino shooting. I just want people to know that this Freemasonry, this Skull and Bones order, it is real. It is people in high places. Check this out from the 2004 campaign. George W. Bush and John Kerry. And again, in the beginning, we talked about how John Kerry was selling the war with Syria.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
wild.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look for...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us? Not much, because it's a secret. Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
And we'll be watching. Be safe on the campaign trail. John Kerry, thanks for joining us. And we'll be right back.
Tim Russert would die by the numbers, Truth Seeker, not long after asking those questions. He might have asked the wrong questions that day. But think about that. Those were the two men running for president in 2004 that had the national attention, both members of a very small secret society. The Masonic vote by Parliament with the Masonic number coding was for the Royal Air Force. And look at the gematria of Royal Air Force, Truth Seeker. This is what's now bombing Syria in wake of the vote. Hours after the vote, they began bombing. Royal Air Force equals 74, like Masonic, like London. In history, the Royal Air Force was established on April 1st, 1918, a date with 42 numerology, like the word war, like the word Freemason. Also a date with 23 numerology. The reason this stands out is because it's April 1st with the 23 numerology. It's the Royal Air Force, and the word king in simple English gematria equals 41, and in Pythagorean gematria, 23. I would say advanced air weaponry is pretty king, if you know what I mean. And with regards to the U.S. Air Force, it also has some very interesting coding. In history, it was established by the 33rd President, Harry Truman, on the date of September 18th, 1947, a date with 74 numerology, as well as some other very important numbers to the Masons and Zionists. All throughout history, these Masonic tributes by the same numbers again and again, Truth Seeker. As for ISIS, this Israeli front, their leader is supposedly named Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. And remember, ISIS is dominant in Syria and Iraq, where we previously invaded. ISIS is a product of the destabilizing we did to the region with the needless wars. Anyhow, his name has interesting numbers coded into it. 105 is the number of Zionism and Masonry in the United States. April 15th, the day we get bent over to pay federal income tax, is the 105th day of the year. An important date in history. Baghdadi himself is also an interesting age of 44, the kill number in the time of Obama, the 44th president. The date he's born on, Truth Seeker, Baghdadi, July 28th, 71, a date with 106 numerology. This is the number of prophecy to the Zionists. Also in Syria, the other target is Bashar al-Assad, whose name gematria is 106. Bashar al-Assad's birthday is September 11th. Born in Damascus, Syria, where the chemical weapons attack supposedly happened. His birth numbers correspond with the United States very well, as you can see on the screen. The Arab League, which is essentially the United Nations of the Middle East, was established in history on March 22nd, Truth Seeker. Bashar al-Assad and Syria are currently banned from the Arab League. All of these people are puppets. They're all playing their parts. They're all coded out with the Zionist numbers. Israel, the Zionist state, was established in history on November 29th, 1947, the 333rd day of the year, a date with 106 numerology. The word prophecy has a gematria of 106. In Jewish history, or I should say Zionist history, they refer to this date as a date of prophecy. The date Israel recognized by a 33-member vote by the United Nations in the year 47. You learn this language of numerology and gematria, you can see what these Masons and Zionists have been doing all this time, setting up the world as if it's a chessboard, and then creating events by the numbers in an ongoing narrative, and giving us constant propaganda in so many different ways. So from here, what we're going to transition to is the San Bernardino shooting and all that is coded into it.